Welcome to We Are Old, Get Over It, the podcast where we celebrate the wisdom of age and maybe a little grumbling too. Okay?
Great.
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for agreeing to this interview. Not that it's a bad interview, but you came from an odd source to me.
Sure.
But since then, you got introduced to members of my immediate family.
Yeah.
And I'm just amazed by all the stuff that you do.
Thank you.
It just so happens that there was an article put out today by a podcast. No, I guess they're a .com.
Yeah.
And they have and it's, what was it called? It's called
Bold Journey.
Bold Journey, and it's boldjourney.com. And if you're going to be interested in this young lady, which you will be, you should read this article because it goes into her background and all the things that she's done. With me today, we're not going to be discussing all of those things. We're only going to be discussing part of it when we're discussing the subject that we want to cover today. Okay? Mm-hmm. So maybe you listen to some of the podcasts, but I always start out each podcast with a quote, and then I end with a quote. And you get to fill in the entire middle part of it, okay?
Perfect.
So I'm going to start out by saying that something that a lot of seniors have to deal with is downsizing. And downsizing a home, especially after living in it for a long time, often involves an emotional process of letting go of cherished items that hold memories. Mm-hmm. There's Dr. Patricia Jaegerman, who has a couple of quotes, and I just want to read this first quote because I think it's very apropos to our discussion today.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to turn this all over to you. We'll get a little background, and then we'll go into how to get rid of all the stuff we've got. Okay.
Great.
Not all of it, just the ones that we need to kind of lighten our load with. Okay.
Yeah.
It's always a sense of loss because you are leaving behind a life. Memories are often attached to places, the smells attached to the house, the sun from the window, and how it reflects on the furniture. There's a real sadness because it's a loss of something you can't get back. And that's the opening quote. And it's kind of a sad quote, but it's probably something that's quite true. And at this point, I'm going to turn this over to you and let you talk about how people can get rid of things that they really don't need anymore, and how you've been able to help people do this. And maybe you will give advice to people on how they can do it. And of course, they can try to track you down.
Yes.
As I did.
Yes.
Using my family and friends, and actually get you to help them.
Yeah.
Okay. So Jamie, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'll just kind of guide you through it. I think the first thing I'd like to do is we're tackling this subject, which we're all faced at some point in time. We've all moved, whether we had to move quickly or we had to move.
Yes.
We had to plan a move, and we have to get rid of things. And first of all, give me a little background on all the things that you've done, a little bit, and how you ended up doing this as one of the many talents that you have.
Well, I appreciate the quote. I say a similar one. People are attached to things. Things are attached to emotion. And with that emotion, if we don't tackle the emotion involved with the thing that we let go of or that we choose to keep, we're actually not being true to ourselves. And so this is a rather psychological process. And it is not so easy to just have 2 of something and 1 of something, or 27 of something if it makes you happy. It is something to give yourself time for. And in our society, we don't give ourselves a lot of time. And so I am kind of here to help guide people, like a trainer of the space, the way you might need somebody in a gym setting because you're trying to stay healthy and, define this muscle or that. I do the same thing in space. And what I do is I listen. It's all about listening and teaching people how to listen to themselves, because we often forget the relationship with self. So all of this decluttering and releasing of things has everything to do with our relationship to self. It's why you'll see when somebody might enter a hoarding situation, which I put no terminology on, negative or likewise. It's just a journey in the life of losing oneself. And so how do we work at helping people free themselves of the past part of themselves that they were, and hone in on the reflection of who they are today so that they could be free and explore and continue to evolve, honestly. I have a few acts in my life already, like acts in a show, act 1, 2, 3, or an opera. You know, I was a former performer. We won't go into all of that, for 20 some odd years. And I'm now in the act 2 of my life as a home organizer and plant designer whisperer. All over New York City, I'm spreading green and beauty and joy in both businesses that I run, with an amazing team who supports me and the good work, because they know how life-changing it is. And so instead of coming into spaces and looking at a room and saying, this needs to go and that needs to go, we do things a little differently. We go based off of category instead of location. By doing that, and there's a huge group of organizers now who do it this way, we find it a lot more effective because we all spread out, no matter how big or small our home space is, whether it's a studio apartment or a 6-bedroom villa, you know, we all spread out. And so by creeping into all the layers and corners of places where, say, the category of clothing might exist, we're now taking this one category and we're eliminating it, the dealing with it, I should say, in one fell swoop, instead of psychologically beating ourselves up because we've done this room and now we found more clothes in this room and now we found more in the garage and there's more in the basement, and it gets more exhausting. What we have found is when you go by location that way, people tend to get more tired and to give up halfway through the process.
So what you're saying is, if clothing, which is a big item, obviously,
One
we
of the
all
big,
have clothing that we don't wear. It doesn't fit us. We don't
holding
like
on
it.
to a
It
past
reminds
life.
us of something. It's things that we're never going to wear again.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is regarding the location, is you really need to go and gather all those things together
Mm-hmm.
in one space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
And
in one fell swoop, you want to find where your table of the day is. It might be a guest bed. It might be your own bed if that's all you have. It might be the couch. You choose where you lay it all out and you pile it up, and you think you're robotic. You don't think twice about what you're doing. You just gather, gather, gather. That's the efficient part.
okay,
Then you're faced with the pile. You take a
right.
picture of that pile just so you can remember the work you did, because you are
Well,
going to want to pat yourself.
I have 100 t-shirts in my folded. You'll be
Okay.
proud of me. They're not folded as well as you have folded things.
Thank you.
Okay, that's the first thing.
Okay.
But they're folded,
Yeah.
and I rotate them so that I wear them
Good.
all,
Okay.
because otherwise I should be getting rid of them. Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
we'll talk about
So,
storage in a moment. Yeah.
okay, go ahead.
But so the first step is gather. Gather your
Okay.
category. Now, clothing we tend to start with because it is the most of what we typically have. And we are wearing it, like you're saying, we're wearing it every day. So we know what is the thing that we go to the most, and we know what we haven't touched, but it's sentimental. We definitely want to keep the sentimental toward the end. So in the big pile, then we have to face it all. This is where I tend to be helpful, or my team, or somebody else in space who is completely neutral, who does not tell you what to do, because this moment is about decision making for you. And so I
For
often
you
said,
or by, wait a second. Is it for you or by you?
I do not guide anybody in one specific direction. I will only ask questions of them so that they can answer for themselves.
Got it. So it has to be their decision.
Yes, what we're
Okay.
exercising is their decision-making skills, because
Got
if
it.
we've gathered too much in our life, we may have forgotten how to have the power over these things. And our decision making needs to kind of kick back up. We need to get the practice with it again. So clothing is a
Okay.
great place to start.
Okay.
So with that, you then touch everything. You see everything, and we create piles. Pretty simple. Know what they are in advance. Have the bags ready. We have our thank you for your service donation pile. These are absolutely torn up and garbage, but we have places where we recycle the clothing. And then
Okay.
this is like Hall of Fame. I absolutely love it. No brainer. And then there's always the maybe category, right? So it seems pretty straightforward so far. But when you do have assistance and your pile is like, yay high, it is helpful to have somebody else's hands because you can kind of lose yourself in the moment. It's not
So it's
everyone's.
basically about 4 different piles is what you're talking about as far
Yep.
as clothing goes.
Yep.
Okay. So
Yeah.
in general, how long does it take for you to go through somebody's pile? I guess it depends on how big the piles
It
are, right?
totally depends on the pile. If the person is like a fashionista or a former model, it could take weeks.
Really?
If
Okay.
somebody, I'm not kidding, and I've had all the experiences. And if somebody has a 3-bedroom and we're trying to get through this quickly, it could happen in a day with another set of hands. But so
Hmm.
what we want to do is understand what room we need to give ourselves and whether we can handle it ourselves or we need to bring in, professionals who can guide the process.
Okay.
So lately, I like to come in with a larger category like clothing with another set of hands. And that
Mhm.
that amazing person that aids the process is able to kind of take anything in any pile, place it where it needs to go, and it's all getting bagged up and ready. Because the key to this process is that after each category, what you say no thank you to must leave your space. If it does not leave your space, you are not making progress. And in that, you still feel the weight of what you've chosen no longer reflects you.
So
Or
it's like getting rid of it remorse.
kinda.
Is that what you're talking
So
about?
psychologically,
Okay.
we provide the service of putting it in the car and giving it
Okay.
to the next new place, and that is a very important thing if someone's doing this on their own. Choose a designated place of the garage or wherever, or put it directly in the car and make a plan that it's going out the door the next morning because that
Right.
evening you're going to be way too tired.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So that takes care of the clothing aspect.
Yeah.
What's next on the list?
Well, so the third part to this process of get it out is then the storage. You're still left with a huge pile. And in
Right.
that place, that's where we mostly have the storage for a thing called clothing, for kitchen, for bathroom. We have most of the storage within the house that's provided. And typically, a house, they've done scientific studies on this, a house will hold all that you need. It will not, if you're exploding at the seams, you really don't need it because they do provide. Now, there might be nuanced ways of making things visible to you to see them, like you're talking about with your t-shirts, where you choose to like rotate them. But really, a home does have all the space you need. So what we do is we play Tetris, we maximize. We've listened through the whole process of yes, no, maybe at what is most functional for the human. I'm downloading and like pretty much understanding the whole person's life and what they desire. And so I'll make sure that I know how every piece of clothing is going to be most visible for what they need. And then the beauty is, and Marie Kondo does this very well, vertical storage. So in the drawers that we have, and drawers are the best kind of storage you can have for clothing because you can pull it all the way out and it won't get lost in the back of a shelf, We
Okay.
want drawers so that we can see everything, but we want to stack things vertically like this instead of flat like a towel.
I
And by
understand.
doing that library card style that I'm pretty sure everybody's seen at this point, it does genuinely allow you to know everything that you have. No excuses. And so it
Well,
changes people's lives. It literally does.
let me interject one thing. I
Yeah.
just went to visit my sister-in-law,
Yes.
and you're laughing. And I went to their home, and I went in, and I said, "Well, where is all your stuff?" And they said, "Well, it's in these drawers and everything." And she said, "Well, you have to see this drawer, a drawer." So she opened up a drawer. I don't know if it was a drawer with underwear or whatever. But the first thing I noticed is when she opened the drawer, there was a tape on it,
Mm-hmm.
on the on the top of the drawer, which said what was going in that drawer.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything was, as you said, vertical,
Mm-hmm.
and everything was neatly folded. I'll
Mm-hmm.
report that to you, that everything was neatly folded.
I do.
Okay.
I teach that too, though. Everybody learns it.
Okay. And the point of this is you're, first of all, you're making this a more joyful experience when it
Yes.
could be a very difficult experience.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the feeling that I'm getting, and I'm hoping that the audience is getting that kind of a feeling also.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're doing is you're kind of welcome. I understand what you said about the drawers taking up the
Yeah.
space, but I just wanted to say that my sister-in-law is following up. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
Great.
sorry. I'm sorry for
But
interrupting, but I
it's
thought that would
about
be good information for people to have.
yeah,
Okay.
it's
I'm
about
sorry. Go
creating
ahead.
systems. No, this is super helpful. It's that's always a question. If somebody's coming in to help you, is it going to stick? And I like to say, well, yes, and you'll get messy, but it'll be set up that you'll know how to put it back. I mean, we are not going to perfectly place every single thing we own every single night. If we have nothing to do, maybe, but in reality, that labeling everything, and giving yourself the option to think, how am I going to see this better? What can I do so that nothing is lost in the back? No babies in the corner. You know what I mean? And so
Okay.
with that, that's how we kind of help people, and we ask them in the process, does this feel good? Are you able to see everything? Is there anything that you don't see that you want to? And that's where the give and take comes. But labeling is another huge help in the storage process. People will think, well, I organized it now. This is how it's set, and we're good to go. But other people live in the house. And if there is not a label, how can they help you? Oftentimes, one person might have more duties in the home for putting away than another. If you do want the help, and you don't want to be upset that you're not getting it, it's incredibly important to label. And that is so that everyone can learn the system. And then everybody gets used to it and can kind of fall in. But it's a great way for people to get used to saying, and where does the rice go? And instead of getting annoyed and it going somewhere else, it's in the grain bin. Super easy. It helps for kids too. Even when they're learning how to read and everything, labels are everything.
Okay. So we're done with clothing.
Yeah.
Okay. What's next?
We tend to go to books next. A lot of the reason is because we've practiced our decision making skills, and there's a lot of weight in books. Even though people may not have many these days, it's a lot to move around. So especially when downsizing, a lot of memories are held in books. But what I like to ask people as they hold them is, do I have this information in me? And if so, it's time to release it to someone else because they need the information now. Also, just to interject regarding the process in general, this is not about getting rid or discarding. It's about asking yourself what makes you happy. And when you do, the other things fall away that don't serve you any longer, and it works itself out because we all evolve. So with that, with books, what comes into play there is like outdated reference, and am I using a cookbook anymore, or am I using it on my device? We're a lot more digital now, but if someone has Hall of Famers, their joy is books, and they plan on wanting that wall of books, then we say yes with gratitude, because another category is going to cut itself out. So it's different for everybody. And you have to really hone in again on who you are and what your purpose is and why you appreciate it. Now, in the recent instance of downsizing, books really, they went away. It wasn't something they needed. Clothing was easy. A category that got tricky was the sentimental stuff, which everybody does get caught up on. And as we get more to that category, I can guide people with how you can memorialize these things, but maybe not hold so much of it.
Okay. So let's talk about the sentimental stuff.
Sure, it's the last category, so
Oh, is it the last category?
it's
What do
always
we?
the last.
It's always the last. Okay. What come? All right. Let's talk about sentimental. It's a
Okay,
big one,
sure.
right? It's a
Sure,
big
it's
one.
a big one.
Okay. Because my wife and I look around our house, and
Yeah.
let's say we're talking about downsizing, and
Yep.
we look around our home, and we see everything that we have on our walls
Mm-hmm.
or on the floors,
Mm-hmm.
including the rugs and whatever, and we
Yep.
know where we got it,
Yep.
and we know that we like it. How do we part with that?
Yeah.
Or
So
don't we part with it?
furniture tends to be separate of, especially in downsizing. It's one of the like categories that we touched before, sentimental, to say where are we moving to and what's realistic and what's going to fit. So the furniture part in that way, though sentimental on some levels, will be what in reality can we transfer to this place, and if there are family members, or if we have so much furniture and we're downsizing so extremely, is this a moment for an estate sale? All these questions come in based off of anyone's particular story.
So you would
Somebody else,
decide, you would help them to decide whether or
yeah,
not they make it into an estate sale where they have
yep,
people come in their house, or if they give it to a charity,
or
or
other
if they give
family
it to a
members,
consignment or family members if they want it.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
what's worth it and what's not, things of this nature. And that's super specific to the size of the home and where they're going and all of those things. Yeah. But
Okay.
those are
So
all
we're
options.
back to we're back to sentimental. Big
Yes.
category, I guess, right?
Yes.
And as you said, you keep it last.
We keep it last. Yeah. Because of all the photos and, what you inherit as well, from your parents and grandparents and,
Hmm.
generations really. A lot of things that come up are the china. Am I going to use it? Well, now we know a lot of them contain lead and also in the crystal. And, so with objects that are not paper or photographs or journals, we just kind of sit like we do with every other category and say, well, does this thing hold the person for me or not? And if it doesn't, thank you, release, and I find the right home that's safe for other people, or it is a part of that sale that is held, if that is what's happening for that downsizing project. But when it comes to photographs and letters and all things of this nature, with the photographs lately, we've been encouraging that people, because they prefer digital these days, that they use these programs like Legacy Box and Photo Memo. And there are links to all of these places where you mail it in and then they digitize it for you. It is an investment depending on how much you have. But when
Because
you stick with, am I going to do this for myself? It ends
right.
up being worth it.
Okay, so you think that that's something that's worthwhile. Now, this also happens where, my wife, for example, just came upon cassettes,
Yeah, yeah,
okay? Cassettes that her parents had done.
yeah, yeah,
So so I'm getting for her a cassette player so she can
yeah.
hear them. But the
Great.
point is that, yeah, but you can convert those things
Yes,
easily to an
yes,
MP3
yes,
and then have those. So it's
yes,
a form of digitizing
yes.
that as well as
And that is taking the time to do it, right? Because that's the thing that people will push off because it's not important. But what I encourage is that everything we connect with, every last thing, paperclip and otherwise, this is all a reflection of us. And if we want to truly feel free to just live our life and not have obligations that are unnecessary, you tackle it all in this one fell swoop. And
so
then
in other words, you're
you're
saying
set up.
if you're going to do digitizing, get your cassettes, your CDs,
Get
your
it. All
photographs,
of it.
find out how much it's going to cost you and just do it. And
Yeah.
then you've eliminated all of the hard copies, but
Yes.
you have
And
them free, but you have them to enjoy yourself if you actually even look at them. Okay. But they're there.
correct.
Okay.
And
And then
and
you can blame, and then you can give them to your children and say, look what I've done for you. You don't have to have all these pictures. It's all done for you.
and you have it. You have it to just easily like send in the ether, which is, the way of the world. Now, it doesn't mean that there won't be physical ones that don't mean something. You should
Exactly.
hold on to that.
Okay.
Absolutely. But the truth is, we are also bombarded by the stuff part. And again, this is specific to everyone's joy. Someone recently loved her love letters from her husband. And so, what we did, we found absolutely beautiful boxes to hold them that are easy to open with vertical storage so that every day It's set in a place where she can open it up and read one every morning. Not
Nice.
that it's placed in a box on the top shelf in the back of the closet. That doesn't do the same thing. It's really committing to what you're saying you love and you don't. That kind of thing.
Okay. All right. So now we've have we gone through all the categories? I think we
Well,
have.
bathroom, toiletries, and cleaning products, that's one. Kitchen, with some
Well,
of
you can
that.
replace all those when you're downsizing, right? I mean, you don't fall in love with your bleach, or
No,
you
that
can
part
buy.
that part tends to stay behind. People don't realize with moving, they don't want cleaning supplies to go in the box because they don't want them to explode because it gets hot. So that
Right.
is a part of it. If you have a housekeeper or someone else to pass that down to, it's kind of a funny thing. But yeah, you look through expiration dates. The thing I would want to guide with this, and both like food stuff in kitchen and bathroom toiletries, is the first easy thing: gather it all. Look at expiration dates, because if it's expired, easy release.
If it's from 2015, get rid of it.
I've seen much older. We like to play a game of what's the oldest item of the day.
Right.
It's kind of fun. It's just things to do to make ourselves laugh, because it happens to everybody. And also another thing I hear a lot: oh, that's where that went. Oh, so we uncover quite a few wonderful things. But with that, the reason we have expiration dates, just for everyone's knowledge base, it really is important. It's based off of the container that something's in. If things go from hot to cold and it's in plastic, it's leaching stuff into your product or your food.
Yeah.
So pay attention to it. If it's in a glass jar,
Nanoplastics.
yeah,
Something we never heard about 5 years ago.
sure, yeah. If
And
it's
now there's billions of them in our brains.
yeah, pretty much. If it's a glass jar with like dry food product, maybe you can like sneak having it a little bit longer because the glass is a little bit safer. But just it's helpful to just pay attention to it and start over with that.
Okay. So now let me ask you, how much does it cost to have somebody come and do these things with you? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
I
great
mean,
question. It is an hourly rate that we hold. It
okay,
depends on travel, how far we're going. There'll be a travel rate as well. It also depends on how much stuff people have.
right.
you know
Okay.
so with a category, what I tend to do is a home consultation. We have a home consultation fee. I spend an hour. I walk through the whole space with everybody so that I can create a game plan and know what things we need in order to release, and how many sessions it will most likely take,
Okay.
because that's really where it's at. Seeing the space and knowing the quantity and understanding how efficiently, though I don't want to rush people, but how efficiently they can decision make. Because if that's not flowing, then, it slows it down as well. So what I'll often be met with, just to say in this aspect, is people asking me what I think, and that's where I always deflect back to,
What do you
not
think?
about what I think.
Right.
Where are you at with this? So as far as cost goes, there's a home consultation fee. Then I understand how many sessions, more specifically after the first session, because I understand our flow.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd say, like with the studio apartment, we can usually do it in 3 to 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
In a 3-bedroom, double attic, full basement house, I've done it in a month.
Really? It takes that long?
But yeah, it takes that long. Think about every room being full.
Right. Wow.
Three
Okay.
bedroom, three
Now,
bath, double
how do
attic.
we find how does someone who's listening to this say, I could really use this help? How do I find somebody? What's
Yeah,
the category they look under Google, or they do some kind of a search?
yeah. I don't know how everybody advertises specifically downsizing. I know for myself, I have a website where you can sign an inquiry form. You, depending on where you're located in the world, I would look up home organizers, because they often are equipped to do this type of thing. Not
Mm-hmm.
all of them do that specifically. Some are more on the lane of I'll do your kitchen, kind of set people up sort of thing, versus releasing it all for them. That's something that I specifically do that I think makes me different, is that I am helping take it all away, almost like junk luggers. But
Well,
um,
explain that to me a little bit.
yeah, so living
How
in
does
New York
that work?
City, yeah, living in New York City, and when I was a dancer, living out of 2 suitcases for 5 years, you learn how to get creative with not a lot. And then when you start to nest, you get overexcited because you want all the things you didn't have for years traveling, and you have to start organizing and finding your way up vertically as opposed to spreading out in a house. So it's always been a hobby of mine that has been close to my heart. And any place anyone would come into, including where I'm at right now, you'd say, "Gosh, it feels like you've been here for so long." And I would say, "Well, I haven't, but it's because I try to make my space my haven, where I am a true reflection of myself in it and I can rest well and do good work." So, with that, it sort of became like a trend that people got really interested in as a hobby, a sideline for me. And then as I was sort of transitioning from the performing career and my dressing rooms were always getting redone and everybody wanted it to feel that way, word of mouth kind of happened. And all of a sudden, all the different rooms in the theater, people were asking for my guidance to help it feel more clean, minimal, beautiful, and organized. And so with that, my business grew. And so what I started to learn in the process of helping people in our city specifically, and that sort of crazy area with New Jersey and Connecticut and all, not a lot of people have cars. Even if you do, oftentimes at the end of the day of all of the decision making, we are just spent. And we don't realize, even though I've done all the heavy lifting and their decision making, they are really ready for bed. And that is not a bad thing. It just goes to show the exercise of our brain. And so I like to relieve people at the end of the day and say, "And now I take this with me so that you can truly feel the progress. Know that your investment is worth it. And the last thing you need to do is carry it over to the donation center and the 7 other places I might take things to." Because what
Hmm.
I do differently is I find sustainable places where they're truly loved by somebody else.
Okay. And how do people find you? I mean, I no. First of all, I know that there's that article. I know that you have a websites, and
Yeah.
I'd be happy to put those websites on the podcast
Yeah.
after the podcast so that people
Mm-hmm.
can see it on our website and they
Mm-hmm.
can find you that way. But you are based in New York,
Yes.
okay? But
Yep.
you will, but as you had mentioned, you will help people get to other people who
Mm-hmm.
are where they are.
Yeah, well, I don't know a lot of where other people are. It's not, I don't have a huge web. The guidance I gave is kind of what I have. But I also travel. I recently did to help the couple who was downsizing get set up because they started to feel like, well, this feels good, this way of living, and I want to know more about how to keep that with me. And so I flew down to where they moved to and
Hmm.
have done this for other people in the past as well. So for me specifically, my inquiry form on reflectingspaces.com is the easiest. I do like to know how people have heard and how we make the connection, because it's just as much, an interview for me as it is for them with me, to know if it feels good. And I never want to force anything on anybody. It's all about alignment. But we end up making these beautiful connections and gardens and, with other people and having extensions of new family. So it's awesome. But
Well, that's great.
I would say that if not in New York or surrounding areas, heck, if you want me to fly out, fine.
Right.
Uh, there
Okay.
are other people that do this, and it's a Google search,
Okay.
really.
Very good. Okay. Any last thoughts you'd like to put out there?
Gosh, I would just say for anyone getting ready to downsize, if you genuinely feel like it's too much for you, that's okay, because it is. It's a lifetime of things. Why not have fun while you're doing it? The stories that you're able to tell in the process and share with somebody who really is interested and wants your things to have a nice home, for it to live on, that is important. You know, we are here to build memories and create these lasting impressions on this earth. And so doing it sooner than later would also be an encouraging factor, because then your family is not left with not knowing about all of these things, never having the history lesson. You feel freer in the time that you have to enter this next stage of your life, this next act that you have to play. I would encourage, just know when you need help, but have fun doing it.
Okay. All right, great. I'm just gonna read the quote. Stick with me for a moment while I
Yeah,
read the
yeah.
last quote.
Great.
Okay. The magic of downsizing is that it increases the value of everything you keep.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's all also by Marie Kondo. So she's
Yeah.
obviously very well known, and she's got some good quotes out there. And
And
you
what
had some great information for us today. And I will have that information on our website after we drop your podcast. And I thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule
thank you.
for putting up with me and my family and my wife's friends. Okay.
So happy anytime when it
All right,
aligns, it
Jamie.
aligns.
I'm going to
Thanks.
let you go. Just stay with me for a moment. I'm going to check. I'm going to stop the recording, but I need you to stay on just to make sure everything's uploaded okay. All right?
Great.
Okay. All right, everybody else. We'll see you next week. Thank you. And that concludes this episode of We Are Old, Get Over It. Thanks for joining me. I hope you found our conversation both insightful and entertaining. Remember, age is a journey, not a destination. So embrace the wrinkles, the forgetfulness, and the occasional tech frustrations with a good dose of get over it attitude. Until next time, keep laughing, keep learning, and keep getting over it. Ken out.